eNCA's Slindelo, Masikane and Moloko Moloto are on the ground bringing us these live updates. But also, let's cross to Moloko Moloto, our colleague who had been stationed at the Kgosi Mampuru facility. But also Slindelo Masikane, I understand, also ready to come to us to give us, of course, any of the latest updates. Moloko, perhaps if I may start with you, we heard that briefing, from the police minister, Begikele. We also heard from Minister Ron Lamola, and the question around why Kgosi Mampuru was important for them to take Thabo Bester was not only in terms of distance, but also because this is where they can guarantee his safety from himself, but also from others.
Oh yes, I am sure they would not want to have any situation that would embarrass them at this point in time. However, we know, Dumelo, that there has been incidents where inmates escaped from this very same Kgosi Mampuru, the second prison facility. The most famous one would be Ananias Mate, the man who trained as a young soldier or a child soldier in Mozambique, and he came here to inflict terror when he was robbing and raping women, mainly in provinces such as Gauteng, Mpumalanga, as well as Limpopo province. He escaped sometime in November 2006. Of course, he was recaptured, and it turned out, although initially it was reported that he escaped through a very small window, having applied Vaseline on his body, it emerged later that actually he bribed his way out of this super security prison facility. The same way this Thabo Bester also escaped from the Mangaung prison. He bribed his way out. Now, it would seem that there are people who are just amenable to doing anything that is wrong for as long as they will get money in return. And surely that is what the authorities will have to pay attention to. We know he is inside here, Thabo Bester, but we also know now that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is on her way to Bloemfontein. That's where she's going to be appearing this morning. And I mean, considering the fact that this is a young woman, Dumelo, who had a career, and as matters stand, really, from what we know, she really just threw it away. And she will certainly be able to have enough time to reflect. If she hasn't done so during their flight from Tanzania this morning, as they arrived in Lanseria International Airport. So now, because she would be alone, Thabo Bester would not be anywhere near her. She will have time, enough time. The 5-hour drive from here to Bloemfontein will give her enough opportunity to reflect. And that's when it will dawn on her that she is now in trouble. She may never get to taste freedom anytime from now, because if indeed she's going to be charged with murder, chances are, just like Bester, she may be sentenced to life in prison. And in terms of the law in South Africa, if you've been sentenced to life behind bars, you can only be considered for parole after serving 25 years behind bars.
And where you are at the moment, Moloko, quite rightly as well, we were here in the briefing this morning with the police minister and the justice minister. So he would have been driven in Nyala past you, because he went in through a back entrance. We all thought he was going to go through that entrance there by you. It didn't happen, though. He went in near the back somewhere as well. The safety, as you said, Tumza, of Thabo Bester now, once he's inside those prison walls, falls on the Department of Correctional Services as well. Obviously, when they landed, it was SAPS, of course. Now he's behind bars. It's very much on Correctional Services. And Slee, let's come to you once again, still at Lanseria for us. And the reason I make that reference is early this morning, you were there basically overnight in the freezing cold. And I can't help but get the sense, and tell me if you agree, Tums and I were talking about this, the police and SAPS and all of those tactical officers could easily have driven those cars right up to the aeroplane itself. Right. And they could have easily snuck them in the cars and driven off. I get a sense there was a bit of PR on the side of police and authorities here to make sure that there were some cameras pointing in the right direction. Do you think I'm on the right track?
don't think that's too far-fetched. I mean, this entire saga has been quite embarrassing, Gareth, for the Justice and Security cluster. And of course, like you say, I was here overnight. I wasn't alone. I was here with my camera colleague, Percy Sibiya, who is the one who has been giving you those visuals of Dr. Nandipha being escorted and whisked away from the Lanseria International Airport after being deported from Tanzania after she fled the country with her partner in crime, Thabo Bester. And we know, of course, that she is, from what I understand, very close to Bloemfontein, where she is going to make her first appearance in the Magistrates Court, facing charges of aiding and abetting, murder, as well as a slew of other charges in terms of her involvement with the escape and, of course, the subsequent lavish lifestyle Bester lived outside of the prison walls and the fraudulent businesses which they were running together. So, Gareth, it has been quite an eventful morning here in Lanseria. That charter plane landing just after 4 a.m. this morning under a heavy security and police presence. In fact, the convoy of the police Nyala that had Bester in it, as well as the H1 vehicle that had Dr. Nandipha in it, was escorted with a police chopper to the Kgosi Mampuru prison. But we know now that, in fact, one convoy made its way to Kgosi Mampuru, and another convoy, we understand, is now very close to the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where Dr. Nandipha will be making her first appearance. Now, I just want to take our viewers back to a conversation I had with the spokesperson of the presidency during the president's diary meeting yesterday, where, of course, at that point we were still anticipating and trying to understand what the discussions were that were being had with the Tanzanian counterparts and the South African delegation that left for Tanzania a couple of days ago. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about how the president feels about this entire situation, but also his expectations moving forward.
The president is fully aware of the situation. And the president feels that, indeed, this is an occurrence or an incident that shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have been allowed to happen. It shouldn't have happened. It does talk to some weaknesses within the system, and those weaknesses are being attended to. What embarrassing as it is, what is encouraging is that we still have a system that is robust enough to respond rapidly to such cases. We have a system that can deliver results fairly quickly, as we've witnessed with the arrest that have been made, and there will be accountability because investigations are ongoing, and those investigations will result to more arrests and will result into people being held accountable. So in that regard, the President is disturbed that such an incident happened, but is equally encouraged that our law enforcement agencies are able to rapidly respond to such cases, and we do have to, on an ongoing basis, clean up our system. And it also talks to the work that is currently underway in terms of rebuilding the capability of the state at all levels and ensuring that we clean out these corrupt elements within our law enforcement ranks.
Oh, it's the presidency spokesperson Vincent Magudumana speaking to directly Slindelo Masikane, who was there yesterday to put that question to the president and the presidency about their reaction to this. To both Sli and also Moloto, thank you very much. Slindelo Masikane out in Lanseria and Moloto outside the gates of Kgosi Mampuru prison. Just to remind you, we have the Dr. Nandipha on her way to Bloemfontein facing charges of murder, violation of bodies, fraud, and also aiding and abetting. Guarantee we'll have that for you, I'm sure, as that appearance is made later this morning.